Black Cat Lounge is sponsored by Beacon, a home for those who have a passion for filmmaking and the unusual. The Haunted Hinsdale House. Those who walk there do not walk alone. Paraware, apparel for the action-seeking paranormal investigator. Dragonfly art and soul for all of your magical, metaphysical, and spiritual needs. Mystery Control, your go-to feed for science, magic, true crime, the paranormal, and so much more. Para-Niagara, one of the top rated destinations in Western New York. The Black Cat Lounge is part of the Paraflix Entertainment Network. Everybody, Tim Shaw here, and we got a great show for you tonight. We have probably one of the hardest working guys in television and film in the paranormal and all points above, I think, Alabama, but that's another story for another time. I want to thank everybody for coming out last night to the Lewiston Library for my talk. It was a teen talk, Specters and Spooks, or Stacked Specters and Spooks, that's the name of it. And it was a great time. And I just want to go quickly, and I want to introduce you guys to a new sponsor that's coming on board, Dark Moon Press. And they are amazing, and they have a great selection of crazy books. And I'll say crazy books because they'll be going and they'll be publishing mine. So now, let me introduce somebody that doesn't really need an introduction. A lot of you guys know that followed his career forever. You know, I'm not going to say that he had more hair back then, but it's starting, you know, up front, starting to get a little grayer. You know, we all remember him when his beard was like nice and dark, and, you know, he was bright-eyed and he was ready to go. And now, well, you know, it catches up with all of us, but he's a great person. He's, oh my God, he's a television and movie producer. He's an actor, paranormal investigator. He's a musician. He's a reality star. You've seen him on all sorts of docs. You've seen him on all sorts of ghost shows. And lately, he has been, he's produced, he's starred in probably one of the scariest shows that I've seen. I shouldn't say show, movie. We were at the premiere. It is The Devil's Mark, and we're going to talk about that tonight. Let's introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the man who usually I kind of like, I'm a little disappointed tonight because he did not do his hair, especially for me. But, you know, we will take him as he is. Nick Groff. Nick, how are you, buddy? Thank you for coming on.
Good. I always love your introductions. They're classic. I'm doing good, man. Crazy.
You know what, Nick? I have to say that every time I see you, I have always been just totally in awe of your hair. And it's so funny because it's like, yeah, you know, the guy does everything. He's out there. You see him on all these TV shows. You see him wandering the darkness. You see him battling the unknown, but his hair is always perfect. So I've always envied that hair, Nick.
No, I rolled out of bed like this, and I also mowed the grass today. I do mow our own yard, and I left it natural for you tonight. I wanted to come on here as natural as possible.
Well, in my case, it's white, so we don't want to even go there. You're lucky you still got a little bit of color left in there. Hey, you know what? I got to tell you what, I really absolutely love that I am catching up finally on all the Death Walker series and all the episodes. How many series, how many years or how many seasons did that go? Because that's like still amazing. I sit there and I watch and all of a sudden it's like, when did they film this one? You know, how did he
Yeah.
get in there?
Yeah, it's we filmed our 80th episode. Season 5, we just completed it a little
Amazing.
bit last year. So we are done with the series. Season 4 and 5, we just landed a deal. It's going to be out in America in the next month or so. So everybody in America is going to be able to watch season 4, 5. Season 1 through 3 is already out. But
Right.
also the big announcement too that nobody knows about, it's going to be in Canada too. So season 4, 5 going to Canada, America, and the Caribbeans. So we're excited about that. It's been airing in the United Kingdom on Discovery Plus out there. In America, Canada, basically you're going to be able to watch it pretty much anywhere. It's going to be on, I would imagine, all over the place. Tubi, Peacock, YouTube, Apple TV, Roku, pretty much you name it. So we're excited about that. Um, so yeah, 80 episodes complete. It was a good chapter of my life, the last, I think, 5 years doing that. We shot 80 episodes in 5 years. That's pretty insane.
Well, you
So
guys,
20,
I mean,
20 episode of series.
every time I turned around, you guys were out there.
Yeah.
I mean, filming. And of course, the living legend, Rick Perry, is in the room. And I have to say, Rick Perry, when when the credits rolled, when we were at this
Oh
wonderful
yeah. I
Taco Pop,
purposely do that. Only a couple of people caught on to that one. Yeah.
I see Rick Perry, everything.
Everything. Yeah. AKA everything. He's the rock, man. Honestly, Rick Perry, what's up, buddy? I will say this. Rick has been there since pretty much day
Day
one.
one, yeah.
Came into the series, I think, I forget if it was Rick, when did you come in? Like season 3, maybe season 2, something like that. When we started shooting a lot of reenactments here in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, all that area. When we were filming a ton of different locations. So Rick's been there through the thick and thin. I mean, we
Nice.
pretty much built something special, and then all the way up to the Devil's Mark, and he was a huge, huge help on the Devil's Mark documentary. Honestly, when we're shooting all of our backstory and recreations, Rick never complained once. Literally lugging couches up into an apartment to rebuild the set of what it looked like. Um, Down to like, just helping me. And Rick and I were the last ones out. At the last day of shooting was a blizzard. We got caught up in a blizzard storm in Lockport, New York, when we were finishing up the Devil's Mark, and Rick was stuck in a snowbank with the U-Haul truck with all of our stuff in it, the lighting
Oh my
equipment and everything.
God.
And I see him and I'm like, oh crap. So I'm pushing him out of the snowbank, and I'll never forget this. I'm probably gonna tell this story the rest of my life. Rick, I get him out of the snowbank and he just peels out. It's a two-wheel drive U-Haul. It's like one of those minivan
Right.
styles. And we had
Right.
all of our lights and everything in it going back to Buffalo from our filming set. And I push him out of the snowbank and he has his window down. He's like, I got it, Nick. And all I hear him is just sideways down the road going woohoo, just screaming out the window. That literally made my night. Out of going grueling hours and just tapped out. At that point, Rick was just the shining light that I needed to get home that night on my own.
Well,
So he's incredible.
you know what? Out of everybody, of all the Western New York paranormal paranormal investigators, and those, as you know, I mean, I used to be pretty active with the indie community, the indie movie community.
Yeah.
Rick is there. I have never seen one person who can do everything,
Mhm.
and that's the truth.
Yeah.
I can't. He's building gear. He's out there working. I mean, he's helping us on our upcoming cooking shows,
Ooh,
season
that's
2.
awesome.
So he's jumping in there, and we feed him well. I don't know if you fed him, but he
We did.
yeah,
We fed him.
he works for food. He does. He's got a little sign.
He's amazing.
He's
Yeah.
on Market Street with a little sign going, we'll film, we'll help, we'll be a PA for a sandwich. But
Yeah, he also helped build, like, a lot of people don't know this, but I used Rick Perry, his box that he built, his spirit box
amazing,
in
isn't it?
Deathwalker. So I use that in Deathwalker. I think you see a glimpse of it in the Devil's Mark at the ending there in the documentary, but also he helped build the whole set on Live with the Other Side when we shot it here in Buffalo. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
So we shot that. He built the whole set for that, and he was incredible. Just all the way around, just always there. I mean, he's a good guy, and much love to you, Rick. I greatly appreciate all your help, honestly.
He's just, you know what? He's just. I mean, I've never met anybody that was that all around
Yeah.
perfect for the film industry, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera. He's always there. But let's talk about you being in front of the camera. You know what? When I announced that you were going to come on the show, I don't know how many people wanted to know out of, okay, you did 80 episodes for Death Walker. Which one was the most messed up? And by most messed up, you know what I mean. It's like where, you and Judson are wherever, and it's like you
Hmm.
sit there and go, this just ain't right. This just ain't
Yeah.
right. And then you just kind of get through the filming and kind of walk away going, I don't know how we're gonna be able to go and present this.
Yeah, I think one location I'll always come back to. There's like a that's like a double answer for me because like one part it's the Western Block in Lockport, New York, where we
Right.
captured that entity hand in arm.
Yes.
That was one of the most incredible things I've ever documented. That was in 4K resolution, low light capability, two cameras side by side. But I took the raw footage to Buffalo University, and I had a professor actually analyze the
Yes.
video to try to debunk it and align it and see if it's legitimately in the video. And he did, and it was incredible. So we include that into one of the episodes. It's the Western Block, the haunted Western Block is one of the episodes from Deathwalker. You guys check it out. It's wild. So I think that as far as evidence and paranormal phenomena, I think was incredible. Then we did a return to the Western Block episode, which is coming up in one of the new
That's
seasons,
awesome.
and
That's
we
awesome.
do massive experiments. But I will say on the other side of the coin, something that's like hauntingly sticks with you psychologically, mentally, physically, everything all around would be the Hinsdale house. And I
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of people will say,
Yeah.
well, I've been there and it was a pleasant day. And then I went back and I don't know why it sticks with me, or I'm obsessed with it, or something has lingered, or something's weird about it. Everyone I've spoken to has some sort of weird vibe from it, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So I've investigated for 10 years in Deathwalker season 4. We did a two-part episode where we talked to Clara on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
We pulled back the layers. We discovered some possible hits on burial shafts there with ground penetrating radar that I've been looking for forever. And I've been there years prior, and I missed I think a couple of hits, but we discovered something near the pond. But then having Tessa back with her psychic abilities, kind of be like, you're off by this much, go this way. We indicated into the right direction. So I think Hinsdale was such a weird everyone I talked to, and Tim, I mean, I'm preaching the choir here. The first episode I ever did for Perma Lockdown, you were staying at the house when I showed up. You were
Yeah.
in Perma Lockdown, our first episode.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That's the first time we stepped foot in. Weirdly enough, that house was going to be torn down. But Justin, my cousin, called the previous owner before Dan, and the guy was like in a helicopter. The compass was all messing up. He had to land and said,
Mm-hmm.
like, this house is messed up. We're tearing it down. We said, hold on to the house for at least a month, let us film there before you do that, because we knew some of the story. We weren't even going there first. It was a different location. Then that fell off for some reason. We ended methodically there. And that's the house, though. After
Yep.
10 years of doing this research, investigating, pulling back the layers, the house has a way of puppeteering
Oh,
individuals for energy and things it wants from them, because that's how it's feeding and surviving is energy. The land is more haunted than the house. I mean,
absolutely.
it's crazy.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I remember the first time you walked in there and we had been talking and I said, dude, I mean, this is a sucker house, man. It's going to just suck you in because it's one of those places you go to and you can't get it out of your system. And I know even today, first time I went there was 2011, Nick, and we were just, we were just videoing it, just trying to save
Yeah.
it, and it still is one of those places that's so deep inside of me that I will dream about it still to this day, which is like amazing,
Hmm.
amazing. But yeah, I have to agree with you. And the haunted block or the Western block, dude,
Yeah.
only place that ever knocked me down, only place that put me on the ground. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's another place that really is so active, super active. Nick,
Yeah.
let me ask you this. did you ever go and suffer any kind of like production craziness, like, you know, things that you're out on the road and you go to a location and all your gear just shuts down, or there's like, or let's put it this way, sometimes these negative energies,
Mhm.
they call them bad luck energies. So you go on location and nothing works. Did you ever have that happen to you?
Oh yeah, yeah, a lot. We actually had it happen to us a lot on the Devil's Mark when we were filming the
Yeah.
documentary. When we started investigating, pulling back the layers, batteries were dying. We had weird things happening. The geoport malfunctioned and zapped, like drained. I don't know what the
I
heck happened
remember
there.
that. Yeah.
And then we had that crazy bird that flew by us. That was a rare bird that had this spiritual meaning behind it. Just there's been
Yeah.
times like that. Deathwalker, yes, a ton. Ghost Adventures, ton. Paranormal Lockdown, yes. Hinsdale House, we waited 2 hours to start filming because the cameras weren't working. They were malfunctioning. The batteries were
Oh,
suddenly overheating.
I
Remember that?
remember I remember they
Yeah.
were overheating. That's right, when we
Yep.
were filming there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember driving up to the Hinsdale house and my car has been fine for a long time, and all of a sudden the engine light just went on, like something was wrong with the car. So when we left, it was weird. The engine light was on the whole entire time until I got back to like the Buffalo, New York area, and then the car was fine.
But
Just
that's
stuff,
normal.
weird stuff. Yeah, that's normal for the average people like us.
Well, yeah, I
But,
mean, people freak at that, but I mean, that
yeah,
happened back in the '70s to Paul Kenyon
yep,
and all these, and everybody talks about it. And it's so funny when you said that. Oh, it's normal for us because it's, oh yeah, I got scratched. Another day at the
yeah,
office.
yeah,
I got
exactly.
another day at the office. The equipment all drained. Oh well, that's why you pack more batteries. And it's so funny that you happen to say that. But okay, you know what? You mentioned my buddy Tessa, and I love your wife. I've known her for a while.
Yeah.
I've known her parents. I just, what's it like filming with her? Because you started off originally, as the solo dog out there, and then you
Hmm.
brought Tessa in to the Deathwalker fold. What's it like working with her? Because as a medium myself, I mean, it's kind of weird because it's like I'm kind of looking when I see the two of you work together. I'm kind of looking from the outside, looking in, and
Yeah.
from a vantage point that I don't see. So, what's it like working with someone as talented as Tessa?
I realized really quickly the dynamic is amazing. We just elevate each other.
Uh huh.
So with her ability, she's seeing spirits, she's hearing them. With my equipment and just for doing this for so long, investigating, my logical brain is trying to validate, some of the experiences we're all kind of sensing. So she's able to see it and say, hey, there it is, or there's that
Hmm.
spirit, or this is what they're saying. And then hearing their voice on my audio just validates it further that we're documenting something from beyond or capturing some sort of shadow figure or anything of that nature. So I think honestly, it's amazing to work together. I mean, we love being around each other as much as possible, and especially when we're out just experiencing not just the unknown, but life in these locations and communicating with people. I think it's
Right.
such a shared experience that we can walk home and still talk about it. Like it doesn't get old to us or it doesn't get stagnant or it's not like another, I don't know, episodic show where we're showing up and it's like, oh, good, that's done. And we walk away from each other or
Hmm.
something, or it gets like tense or something when we're together.
Right.
It
Right.
never really does. I think it gets more tense in the moment. And what I mean by that is Tessa will be like, we were investigating this house and it was more demonic in nature, honestly. And she was like, it's in that basement room. Do not go in there. Do not. And I'm like, I'm going in. And I was getting drawn in. And, that was like, she'll be like, don't go in there. And she'll be warning me that something's going to be affecting me or something's going to be lashing out. But I am in the mindset of I'm
Right.
here to document. So I'm going into document. So we kind of have that push and pull, which is fun. And we both accept that from each other because I want to document and I'll go the distance and the length to whatever you've seen it on Paranormal Lockdown. So, but I think she has great like intuitive intention for stop Nick. And sometimes I've learned to be like, you know what, Tessa, you're right. I need to pull back because it does affect us. And I think that's the special thing with working together is we have that balance we balance each other off, but at the end of the day, we still have the same vision
Right.
for what we're trying to
Right.
accomplish. So it's honestly incredible to work together. I wouldn't want it any other way, honestly.
I think it's great because, I having been around for as long as I have, and I've seen all the teams out there. I see you and Tess, and it's always fresh. It's always something new. And I think that you guys work so well together that it's almost like a hand in glove, the two of you, when you start working. And I really love the fact that you actually, well, first of all, you're married to her, so, to this Sicilian lady
Yeah, I know.
that
That's
is
a different
small,
story.
and I'm scared of Tessa, so I can imagine you. So you're going to listen to her, but I mean, it's up front when you first started working with her, when you guys first started filming and doing your thing. Did you often think to yourself, well, you know what, maybe she's wrong, maybe she's reading this stuff wrong, or were you one of those guys like I am? It's like, well, okay, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I want to know, you know, let's okay, let's let this thing just kind of play through.
No, I think I would because I had personal experiences with her prior to filming with her
Uh-huh.
where I didn't necessarily when we fell in love and we were dating and everything, I didn't necessarily fully grasp her psychic abilities, if that makes sense. I
Oh
was
yeah.
on her
Yeah.
podcast show when we met and we came together and we were just a thing. There was no other, she didn't even watch any shows of Ghost Adventures. She didn't really even know who I was. We clicked and we meshed and everything became kind of like what it is now. And honestly, I think I've always trusted her,
Right.
and I think we both trust each other. So when I hear her, what she's telling me, I 100% trust her because she has never steered me wrong. And I
No, I
think
agree.
that's why I don't shut it down when she's
Right.
communicating her information because I've seen her do it time and time again, not just to me, but specifically like live audiences or people she doesn't know or people in the street or like friends, family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my aunt, like what we were at my aunt's house and she said she's never been at my aunt's house. I never talked about it, but she was telling my aunt something in my uncle's room in the basement. He had this certain object that he was trying to communicate to my aunt. He's passed away.
Right.
She didn't know. None of us knew that. My aunt didn't even know that. Guess what? We go to the basement. She finds it in the room. Oh my gosh, my aunt's freaking out. So it's one of those things that Tessa has this unique ability that I've seen stronger than a
Mm-hmm.
lot of psychics that I've met or a lot of people I've met. I mean, she's literally working on criminal cases, PI cases,
Yeah.
missing cases, murder cases. That's a really hard thing to do because, if typically you're working with families, so you
Yeah.
can't screw that up or
Yep.
lead them in the wrong
I
way. You know how it
agree.
goes.
I
So
agree.
it takes a very confident person to be doing stuff like that. So for me, I definitely listen to her. We definitely I'm such a deep thinker. I'll come out of the crazy sky of this vast universe and I'll spill a bunch of stuff to her in my head that's spinning. But she has great conversations back to me and she listens to me, but she will be the first one to tell me, no, that's not the direction. I don't intuitively believe in that. She's like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling you, that's not right. And every time that I try to steer off of that, not listening, she was right. She
You
was
learn
right.
quick.
So
You learn quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
I started listening a little bit more. And plus with her and I, what I've noticed us coming together is we're almost it's like two batteries, right? Sometimes you need two batteries to make your electronic, work. She's the battery, I'm the battery, and together I feel like we're stronger, more powerful together. I've noticed I've been way more intuitive with like coming together with her and we kind of bounce off of each other and feed off of
Right.
each other. Like I'll have these crazy visions and then all of a sudden it'll come true. And that's been a progressing for us more and more as we elevate our vibration. I'm a big believer in people come together for certain reasons and you kind of the vibration, the frequency is elevated together. When you have like twin souls or you have like people that need to
Exactly.
come together, stuff like that. So,
Exactly. That's it. But that is something that's normal, and a lot of people don't
mhm.
realize that how one works off the other, especially if you are single, if you have that single goal in mind. And that is what's so important. Nick, let's talk about this fabulous movie that you graciously invited me to
Oh
the
yeah.
premiere to. And it was wonderful. The Devil's Mark. Tell everybody about how you got involved with this, because I mean, well, I'm going to have Jason on the show, and I
Mhm.
really want to get really hardcore into this. But
Yeah.
how did you get involved with this? How did you meet Jason? And tell everybody a little bit about this. Really, kind
Yeah.
of this, and I'll
Yeah.
say it's almost like a possession attempt.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost it's verge. It's verge to that
Yeah,
point of possession, but it's a strong attachment, I would say, that's evolving into that. But so I met Joel and Scott Clinging-Smith. They actually
oh,
brought Tessa and
yeah,
I out to an investigation that they were working on for a twins haunting. So they produced a twins haunting that they're releasing right now on YouTube. Everyone should go
that's
check
right.
it out.
Yeah,
So they did a twins haunting, and we were in one of their episodes. We flew out to West Virginia and we helped them on an investigation. Now I was mutual friends with his name's Zach from he was at the premiere too
right.
from oh my gosh, I'm spacing it. What's their house there? The Victorian house
Wildwood,
that yeah, Wildwood. Thank you.
Wildwood
So
Sanitarium, and he's in.
yeah,
And by the way,
I
just to
love
let you know, he's in the chat.
Oh, what's
So
up, buddy? Yeah, so Wildwood's awesome. Everyone has to check that out. Their family's great. And their little baby is so cute. He was at the
is
premiere
he?
too. I
He
ran
was
into him in
so
the premiere.
good.
There's
He
so
was
many people
so
there.
good. Oh my God, he was
Yeah.
so quiet. What a little cutie.
Yeah. So basically what happened is when I was there, Zach came up to me, he said, "Hey, you gotta check out their book." I saw the book and I was like, cool. Looked at it for a second because we were in the midst of just going, going, going. And then
Hmm.
Tessa took it. She started reading the excerpt from it. She was reading through it. And here's the thing that not a lot of people know is, and to back up, Zach introduced me to the Klingensmith brothers. And
Hmm.
so that's how I got there with Tessa. And basically, Tessa was reading this book really quickly, reading it. And then as we're leaving after investigation, everything driving back to the airport, her and she turns to me and goes, "This is what you should be working on." And it was an
Wow.
insight she had. She came out of the blue. Now, what people don't realize for the last 2 years or so, I've been looking for the next documentary, the next film. I was working on one that I was writing based on some true events. I was working on a couple of different things, but it just wasn't the right timing. I was also doing Deathwalker
Hmm.
series. So it got to the point where I was getting frustrated. I was like, Tessa, I'm going to be working on it. She's like, it's not yet. She would tell me it's not yet for 2 years straight. And then all of a sudden, boom, that day after that, she's like, this is the one. And I
Wow.
think something that caught her off guard was just the story outline that she started kind of glancing at. So what I did is I said, okay, let me really take a look at it. So I started kind of dissecting the book, and then I looked at it
Right.
further, and then Joel Klingsmith and I started talking a lot, and I forget exactly how it kind of came up, but I said to Joel, I said, "Hey Joel, you ever think about optioning your book and turning it into a film, like taking your book, your whole life story,
Right.
and turning it into a documentary where people can see, but not just a whole story on your book, but you start it with the backstory, and then halfway through it ramps up into present time where we pursue to try to
Hmm.
help him with Tess and I, where we come into the picture halfway through to try to like get rid of this attachment, get rid of this negative thing that's attached to Joel that he picked up from a childhood. So that's kind of how it started. And I think Joel really loved the idea to develop it. And then what I did is I started basically breaking the book down further, and I compiled it all into a narrative. And I had this crazy idea of let's start it when you're age 6 and just slam the audience with this trauma, this psychological elements,
It was amazing.
because I didn't want people like what I loved about this just film at the end of the day. It's a sad story, but it's also an enlightening story when you look at it from the beginning to the ending. And the reason I love it is because it has so many humanistic elements that people can relate to. It's just not your cliches, same old paranormal documentary or whatnot, which is
Exactly.
straight hauntings. It's about two brothers and his family. There's three brothers, and then their mom and their dad, and how they went through a horrible, dysfunctional family kind of dynamic relationship where the father is super physical and mental abusive, and
Right.
then the two brothers start having these paranormal encounters at the same time in this house, but they have to be quiet because mom and everything else is telling them don't talk about it. And it progressively gets worse and worse until you just see it unravel, and then
Hmm.
it gets into addiction, overcoming addiction, the power of the brain, and coming full forth into present time in 2025, where we met him for really the second and first time, coming together to try to help trace back the footsteps where he thinks he picked up the attachment. Then you find out the twist, and you kind of realize as the movie progresses, he picked up when he was younger, around 14, 13, 14 years
Yeah.
old from his father. And we realized that because Tessa dived into her insight where we think he picked it up from the grandfather from World War II. Picked it up somewhere on the battlefield, this negative entity that kind of attached itself to him, and that entity jumped and attached itself to Joel's father. And from there, it went to Joel when he was around 14, when his father was strangling him, which you saw that
Right.
crazy scene that we portrayed. So the film just is so unique. I haven't actually seen a cinematic documentary narrative like this, where you have this kind of backstory from 1996, and you go through the years of telling the story with the reenactments, but we're intercutting the testimonials of the real Joel and the real
Hmm.
Scott, and then we progress into real time where it picks up and it almost feels linear, but it's this overarching thing from 1996 to 2026. So it's that many years of just story that is just wild. And then the ending is I think it was
Well,
very emotional but epic too at the same time.
I'm going to tell you that first of all, as someone who has worked a lot of a lot of negative, I mean, I've worked a lot of negative cases, and I've worked, and people that I look up to like Johnny Zaffis and well, the late Father Andrew Calder and a few other people. These are all, I mean, I sat there literally, Nick, with my mouth open, going, everyone is a tip. It's all a typical step. Everything
Hmm.
was exactly
Hmm.
as what I've always studied, what I've always learned about. Same thing with the book that I had worked with, the C2D1 haunting. All these led up to these temporal possessions, and what I thought when you brought up that phenomenal, let's just say a theory of the grandfather actually picking something up,
Right.
we're talking almost like a generational curse. You see that time and time again. And many times you'll see like the entity or whatever you want to call it, this negative energy, it can't quite
Yeah.
grasp that person, but it makes their life so miserable, and then it passes on and goes
Hmm.
into the next generation. It was
Yeah.
genius. I'm just going to tell you, Nick, it was absolutely genius. And I
No, I
love the
appreciate
fact,
it. Thank you.
the way that you the way that you worked the time within the movie, because it made so much sense to me, because a lot of them jump too much where
Yeah.
you actually blended it in search of
Yeah.
it. And I believe that the interviews are what really connected everything together. And then it came into a new era. The new era was genius. But dude, I'm just going to tell you what. When you and Tessa get on, the two of you are like dogs with bones. When you guys get ready to go with it,
Yeah.
I sat there and went, "Wow, look how they're working with that." And again, I want to ask you the same thing that I asked you about Death Wish or Death Wish. You're not Charles Bronson, and you're not that
Yeah, I
old.
know.
Death
Yeah, we
Walker,
could turn it
Death
into
Walker.
that.
You could tell what generation I'm
I'm
with.
go-
But
yeah.
with Death Walker, I mean, I have seen different productions that I've worked on in, small ones, big ones, where everything goes wrong or everything just gets like nothing, everything gets, all the batteries get drained. And again, you were
Yeah.
talking about the geoport malfunctioning. Did any of that surprise you when you were filming? Because I know myself, that's always like the production crews, are for the most part are not
Yeah.
paranormal investigators. So when this stuff happens to them, they kind of like either freak out or they don't understand it. What were your reactions when you? It seemed like it happened on multiple occasions.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I think it's funny if you look at a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that happened, basically, we had some huge blizzards. We were stuck in
Yeah,
like huge blizzards. That was randomly weird when we were filming. Then there was a lot of frustration when we were getting to Mackinac Island that should not have played out. But Joel and I and Tessa and Scott, we'd all turn to each other every now and then, be like,
yeah,
there's something wrong. There's something trying to stop us to
yes,
pursue this. And
yes,
we started poking fun at it and saying, "Oh, it's the devil's mark." It's the devil's mark every time, because it felt like that. It felt like something negative was trying to put this dark cloud over us and stop us from
yeah,
pursuing this thing. And you can see it in the recordings and the audio and stuff that we're gathering in Tessa's insights. And it's yeah, I think we were shocked a couple of times. I was shocked when the Geoport didn't work because I knew 100% I charged it. So
right,
that kind of bothered me. And I think it was frustrating because I was in my mind saying, I'm going to use this, and now I can't use this, and something's making me more angry. Why am I getting angry? I'm on Mackinac Island. I shouldn't be angry. You know what I mean?
right.
So there was weird stuff like that all the way to the ending, when we filmed the rest of it at the Western Block, where we had this big experiment. One of the cameras didn't record at one point. It was like we hit record, but for some reason it stopped
Right.
halfway through. So just weird stuff, that I gotta say, I feel like was attributing to maybe what's lingering around Joel. And I don't know. I just feel like some of that kind of has a weird damper that, people always perceive like possessions, exorcisms, all that
Right.
stuff as
Right.
like it just happens.
Yeah.
And I
No.
think those are because of movies and TV and whatever has kind of tainted that world for
Yes.
people's perceptions of, so I'm possessed and everything's a demon, everything's
Yeah.
possessed. But that's not true. I mean, basically, there's a big, massive buildup to actual possession. And but there is stages like you were mentioning prior to that. You go through oppression, depression, all that stuff leading
Yes.
up to possession. Possession's like a real crazy last step where the person is almost like unaware, in a sense. They're just they're consumed by this thing. And um and I know, there's a lot of things that have to be placed into that position to overcome it. And I think with this, it's definitely verge to that point. But we got into the story on the Devil's Mark documentary right at that kind of tipping point, to
Yes.
try to help them. And that's why we brought in our good friend who's a Native American, who basically came in, and he's a medicine man, and he conducted that ritual to try to get rid of some of that negative entity and suppress it. Because
Mike.
truthfully, you have to keep trying to suppress it as you move
Exactly.
forward in life.
Mike Bestine, for anybody who doesn't know Mike, Mike Bestine is an Algonquin elder. He was a student of Mad Bear Anderson on the Tuscarora Reservation. Mad Bear Anderson was one of the religious leaders of the AIM movement, and a very, very respected person. And I worked with Mike for a couple of years, and I mean, I know him pretty well. And I thought it was a stroke of absolute genius to bring him on so that he would clear Joel, where he
Right.
started to clear him. And rather than go with the traditional, I bring in a priest, I'm bringing in a demonologist, I'm
Right.
going to splash him with some holy water and let's see if he growls or whatever. But
Yeah.
to have Mike come on there and conduct that ritual, I thought was so poignant. And not only was it interesting to me personally, but I really think that it helped Joel. I
Yeah, I do
really, I
too.
really did. That was crazy. I thought it was just great.
Yeah, Joel said he felt lighter, and everything with that momentum is trying to take a step forward in life,
Right.
releasing yourself from negativity, getting yourself in that mindset. Like anything, you have to have the will, the power to step forward, but you also have to have the right kind of ammunition to kind of rinse yourself of that negativity. So
Hmm.
I think it was well done. Another thing I really loved about this documentary that we never tapped into before was remote viewing. And
Yes.
I think that's one
Yes.
big topic that I love is remote viewing because for years, I've looked at that. Tess is really good at remote viewing. I've even done weird stuff, but she's able to remote view. So is Gail. Her mom.
Gail.
They're both really good at remote viewing. I've
I
only met a couple of people that are good at
Gail
remote
is
viewing. And
Gail is amazing because Gail is someone who it's well with Tessa and Gail, and you know as well as I do, it's generational with the
yeah,
women in that family. And Gail has always wowed me whenever we've talked or we've, discussed topics like that. And I remember Tessa talking years and many, many, many years ago about remote viewing and how she was just like she's like, for some reason I just saw this when we were discussing something. And I was like, wow. I mean,
yep.
she was really right on. I've never seen any of her drawings yet, but I really want to sit down one day and I'll just invite her on the show. Listen, her husband will say, "Go on the show, damn it," and she's
Yeah.
going on the show. Yeah, that doesn't work.
No, she's really good. I mean, she's helped solve some recently a murder case in
Yeah,
Florida, and she had a sketch artist do the drawings. And then they found one of the guys. He was in jail. Like she said, go find him. He's in jail. Look for him. Here's the
yeah,
sketch artist. She had the sketch artist down to the T of his tattoos on his neck and everything.
amazing,
And they
amazing.
found him, and the guy confessed to it. So there's a lot of yeah, a lot of things that we tried to work in there to be a little bit more not just unique, but I think to think outside the box to try to help and move things forward. Because there was one thing we needed was the inside of the house, and we couldn't get to his childhood home
Right,
specifically in the doc. So what we did is we remote viewed into the house, and they both nailed stuff that was mind blowing. And there's a lot of stuff that I cut out during the remote viewing too, the raw footage, where
right,
they're talking about even like it's so clear what they're describing, like the staircase, the crawl space, but they talk way more about stuff. I just needed to condense it because there's a lot more.
right.
But in remote viewing, they touched on a second home too with water. They touched on this incident that took place there, and Gail didn't even know some of the things that actually happened at their house. And then we told Joel and Scott after, and they were blown away about what the insight was, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that happened." So there was a lot of things we learned and found out by doing the remote viewing, and I think it helped progress the investigation, the story along. But yeah, I mean, again, Devil's Mark to me was like a complete. Visualized it, but I felt like very passionate when I started
Hmm.
getting involved in the narrative and putting it all together. Because I edited it, I wrote it, shot it, directed all this stuff, and I had a great team working with me. You know, Tim Davis. Obviously, you heard Rick.
I
I
love
had
Timmy. Yeah, I love Timmy.
Angela. Angela, if she's watching, she's
Angela's
amazing.
great.
Yeah, Scott and Joel were incredible. There's so many people. Alex, who played the entity,
Yep.
he's amazing. The guys who did all the special effects and makeup for Alex to portray the entity.
Hmm.
And by the way, that entity you saw that we portrayed and made in the beginning, that's what Joel saw, he said.
Wow,
Exactly like that.
that's amazing.
So yeah, I don't know
It's
what it is. I
amazing.
mean, we were trying to think if it's more like demonic in nature, meaning more of like an elemental or something that was like a water elemental dating way back that's ancient because Tessa kept saying this thing's ancient, and that's what Joel felt too, and Scott felt, and just some of our evidence we were getting was the same. But
That's
yeah,
amazing.
we're excited. We're going to be doing so. We premiered it at the Riviera Theater. It did amazing. You know what blew my mind more than anything? Like I premiered Deathwalker there and other
Hmm.
stuff before, but the one thing I think that really hit me like in my core of my heart and my body was the standing ovation at the ending.
Yes.
I honestly like I get it, like the clapping and stuff, and if people like it, they clap and then they kind of stop and we come out and do some Q&A. But I like there was a standing ovation for like 5 minutes.
Oh, it was over
And
5 minutes, Nick. It was
and
over five
I
minutes.
think
Well
that's when I
deserved.
realized. That's when I realized we have something special
Yeah.
because typically I wage and judge my okay, you never know what people are gonna like. Like some people will be like, no, I liked it, but maybe this part could be different, or yeah, that was not bad. Usually you get the mixed
Hmm.
of okay, it was cool, but we support you. I didn't get one bad comment, one bad like, hey, change this. Honestly, yeah, the standing ovation I think really hit home for me because I worked my like blood, sweat, and tears,
Exactly.
like editing and grueling hours and putting it together. And I think it became a passion project. So I made Ghost Adventures documentary, right, in 2005,
Right.
2006. And that was like a passion project that became something. Then I made The Devil's Mark, and I feel like this was my second phase in my life to make something. But I'm planning on doing other ones. I'm working on some other big projects coming up. So
Awesome.
I'm
Awesome.
excited about that.
One question before I have to let you go because you got dad duties tonight.
Yes, I do.
Let when can people actually see it? Is this going to be going on a streaming
Yes.
platform? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be worldwide. So everybody in the world will be able to see it. We're gonna slate it probably October to be premiered worldwide, and I'm gonna release all the information soon. We'll have some new trailers. I'm thinking
Fantastic.
about maybe doing some pop up, kind of like we did at the Riviera Theater. I
Yes,
might do some more maybe through the summer. I'm not sure yet of where we can screen it at maybe a haunted location or something like maybe Mansfield Reformatory or Penhurst Asylum or something like that. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We were all kind of talking about it to see if some more people want to come out and check it out before it gets released worldwide.
that's
So
going to be awesome.
yeah, but everyone's going to be able to see it. It'll be streaming worldwide come October. I'll make the announcement really soon, but I'm excited. So we're just positioning it now, and it's going to be really cool once we get off the ground. And really, I can't wait for everyone to see this because I feel like it's just so unique and different. And like I said, it has those relatable
Hmm.
elements that probably a lot of families have dealt with
I
in
agree.
reality.
Yes,
So if you like scary movies, horror movies, psychological movies, thrillers, kind of these elements
it's
that
all
play
rolled into one.
tribute, it's a true story. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's all rolled into one, and we're excited. And also, Tessa and I, we're getting ready to film next month. We're working on a brand new series with Brandon TV right now. That's going to
Wow.
be the biggest series I've ever done. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be mind blowing. So we're ramping up to help families. We're going to take cases of homes. We're going to work on
Hmm.
some other new stuff that we've never done before. This is going to be super, um, just next level. I feel is the next big type of
Awesome.
paranormal type show. So I'm excited about
Fantastic. Keep us in the loop. Keep us in the loop. You know that I love you
it.
guys more than, most of the other ones
Me
out
too.
there. And, thank you so much because I don't want to hold you any further because you've got a little one that wants to go to bed and you
Yeah.
and only dad can put her to bed. So thank you so much for taking some time tonight to be on the show. And Nick, all my best to everybody. Make sure you give Tessa a kiss for me and tell her that I miss her.
Will
And
do.
she'll be getting a call from me. My agent will call her agent.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Tim. All
Thank you
right.
so much. Take care,
Have a
my
good night,
friend.
everyone. All right. See you later. Bye.
Isn't he great? I always love hanging with Nick. He's just a great person. And without a doubt, he's so creative and he's so giving. And that's what I love about what he does in the community. He comes out there and, he brings all of us together. I mean, he brings in locals, all the, everybody that was, so many of the people that were working on that movie were all locals. I mean, guys like Rick Perry. I can't say enough about Rick. Rick is my here's my buddy Rick. And again, this guy builds boxes and he builds proximity pods and he's doing this and he's doing that and he anything that you need he's out there doing it and that's why I love it because he's bringing these quality people and Angela who is out there she's another production assistant who will go out there and do everything and 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 Joel and his twin brother everybody is just really they give so much and they believe in these projects. And I think that's what the biggest thing that we do need in the field or in indie movies is the passion. Bring the passion back. We need the passion. We've done 20 years of TV ghost stories. We've done 20 years of, we've developed all this equipment that is nothing more than what we knew 10 years ago. Let's bring some passion back. Let's do some creativity. Let's get out there and look for something that is adventurous, exciting. Look for these stories. This story, guys, I guarantee you, let me just throw it up one more time. This story is mind-blowing. And the post-traumatic stress that it's involved in this, and you can see the definite steps of what may have been something akin to a temporal possession attempt or a full possession attempt. So, guys, I want to end just by saying, you know what? Be kind, guys. Be nice. Be kind. There's not enough kindness in the world. You guys are all beautiful people. And I want to thank you for coming out and just hanging out with me tonight with Nick. And I'll see you next week. Where? At the Black Cat Lounge, where the elite meet next to the dumpster transfer station. Ciao, babies. Take care. Do something nice for somebody tomorrow. Just once. You don't have to go more than twice. Let's not over-exaggerate. Let's not get crazy. Just do one good thing. Bye-bye. Take care.